wanted to show you something about Remdesivir that is very, very interesting. So Remdesivir, of course, is another one of these drugs that was under EUA because it was never developed to be given to COVID patients. It's an antiviral drug, but it was developed way before it was Fauci's pet drug. So they needed an EUA authorization, emergency use authorization for Remdesivir, and they got it in April or something, really early on. In October 2020, the FDA granted some sort of limited approval to certain patients, not to pediatric patients, so that it was no longer under EUA for those patients, but it was still under EUA for pediatric patients. That came later. I think that came in 2022 sometime, in the spring of 2022. What's interesting is, though, we now know that Remdesivir kills. In fact, the WHO put out a statement in the fall of 2020 already saying we do not advise doctors to prescribe Remdesivir, and it was stopped in Europe. They don't give Remdesivir anymore. In the United States, it continued to this day. And I want to quickly show you this website. So Remdesivir is sold under the name Veklury. So I'm going to show you this very quickly. This is very interesting.
It sounds like a character in a Wagner opera.
It's not a nice name, right? Veklury. Yeah, Valkyrie, like Valkyrie. Like a Wagner. Okay, so this here, what you see here is, can you see it?
I can, yes, thank you.
This is the website for Veklury or Remdesivir, intended for, as it says up here, intended for you as healthcare professionals. And they also have a patient site, which we can go to in a moment. And when you scroll down here, it says, where is that?
Well, I see that they're making it available to newborns.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's what I want. Let's go down here. Indication. It says Veklury is indicated for the treatment of COVID-19 in adults and pediatric patients. And now look at this. Birth to less than 18 years of age, weighing, so from birth to 18 years, less than 18 years of age, weighing at least 1.5 kilograms. So that's like 4 pounds.
That's a prematurely born baby.
That's a prematurely born baby, exactly. Who are hospitalized, or not hospitalized with mild to moderate COVID-19 and are at high risk for progression to severe COVID-19, including hospitalization or death. Wow, that is unbelievable. 4 pounds? And for mild to moderate COVID after so many people died? Why is this medication still on the market?
Well, the company that makes it, Gilead, has a very long relationship with Anthony Fauci.
Yes.
They're the manufacturers of many of these so-called AIDS drugs. And that has been a major cash cow for many, 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 many people. And I guess this is some kind of a deal that they've made, and somebody's getting very well paid for this. It's not just the company; it's some other entity. We have this strange situation in America where the federal agencies receive royalties on drugs. So if federal funds were used to develop a drug and then it's licensed by a private company and then manufactured, that company has to pay the federal government a stream of income, a royalty on every sale. So bizarrely, we have many of our public health on the federal level, this is federal only, get a significant amount of their operating revenue from these drug royalties. So,
right.
And I imagine that Gilead, which deeply in bed with Anthony Fauci for decades, I imagine they know how this system works very well. They knew who to pay off. They're paying I imagine they're paying a very healthy licensing fee to the federal government. And I guess the federal government likes to receive money. And that's maybe the beginning, middle, and end of the story. Because we have no common sense. We have no decency. We have no doctors that will stand up and tell the truth. Kennedy's making some inroads. Some people criticize him. He's making some progress. So some progress is better than no progress. But this is clearly something that has to be stopped tomorrow, or actually today. This is insane. To give to give I wasn't aware of this, by the way, to give remdesivir to a prematurely born baby because it has a mild case of COVID.
No, not even that, because they have a positive
Well, I mean,
PCR
here's the
test.
thing. Here's the crazy thing. As soon as you get a positive test, they declare you have COVID.
Exactly. So they don't even have to have COVID.
And they can say, well, it's a mild case because there's no symptoms.
Exactly. Symptomless case. So
Therefore,
I think this, what you see here, this is just a crime. And now let's go to the patient side and you see another crime. So now this is the site for Veklury for the eyes of patients. They have two different websites. Interesting, right? And here it says, if you're hospitalized with COVID-19, and this is from today. I mean, I'm on the internet here. I'm on the internet. I'm pulling this up right now. This is not like 2 years ago. This is now. If you're hospitalized with COVID-19, Veklury could help speed up your recovery. They probably trust that people don't know that Veklury is nothing else but Remdesivir. Because you have to know that. If nobody tells you that.
We're informed, but I'm sure the majority of people doesn't know anything about Remdesivir. But yeah, this lets them sneak it by the people that know about Remdesivir.
Yeah, and then they encourage you to talk to a healthcare provider. Here they say, talk to a healthcare provider to find out if Veklury may be an option for you, just in case the doctor, doesn't propose it by himself or herself. Then you, the patient, you should ask your doctor, hey, shouldn't I be on Veklury? What do you think?
Well, this is classical American criminal medicine, which you don't see in any other country. Patients who don't know are strongly encouraged to encourage their doctors to give them specific drugs. Now, the legal language here is so interesting. Veklury could help speed up your recovery. Well, I guess anything could happen. And then the next thing they say is talk to a healthcare provider to find out if Veklury may be an option for you.
I think that's consulted with their lawyers before they put that in there, don't you think?
Well, the practice of medicine, and interestingly enough, this goes back, unfortunately, to the Middle Ages. We were making some progress in the 18th century, and the 19th century, and the 20th century, but we are firmly back in the Middle Ages. And this is in my book. The original universities were created by the Catholic Church because the Catholic Church ran everything, and they were created not to advance knowledge, but to train, in quotes, clerics. In other words, not necessarily priests, but anybody that could help manage the Catholic infrastructure, right? So that was what you went to a university to be trained for. Okay? You weren't going there to learn, and you were learning that to become useful, become literate and so on. So the very first medical school in Paris, everybody there was connected. So you would be trained in theology and law. That's all they taught in the early days. Those were the only two subjects. And then Paris added medicine. But it was all interwoven with what? Theology and law, right? So there were a lot of insane medical practices back in the Middle Ages, but they were validated or authorized by in those days, the ultimate authority, which happened to be the Catholic Church at that time. That was the ultimate authority. So we are literally back to there, where medicine is being authorized and promulgated. That has nothing to do with medicine, has nothing to do with science, has nothing to do with public health. It is simply a directive from the most powerful forces in the society, which now are the federal governments. And I don't know how it's working in Germany, but in the United States, it's all profit driven. It's a horror. It's a horror, and we are living in a medical dictatorship. And it's operated by people that know nothing about medicine.
So Ken, before we wrap up, I would like to talk about the chain of command, because the nurses in your book, one of the nurses said that when she talked to the doctors, why are you doing this? Why are you giving Remdesivir? Why are you intubating these people? They're all dying. Why are you doing it? The doctors would say, I'm just following commands. I'm following orders. I'm just following the orders from above. And let's go through the chain of command. So let's go through it, if you don't mind, from the bottom. So nurses and doctors, they're kind of at the very bottom of this chain of command.
Well, let's do it
They
the
are
other way, because
yeah.
it might make more sense if I start from the top. So at the top, you have the federal government, which has taken over the practice of medicine because they dispense the money. Okay. So they decreed you will not give anti-inflammatories, you will not give, inhalable steroids, you will give remdesivir, you will intubate.
But who exactly in the government? Is it the federal health agencies, or is it someone else who's telling the federal health agencies?
This is the mystery. But at some point, people that went to medical school, and I say that very specifically, there are a lot of people with MDs that have never practiced medicine. They've never seen a patient. They've never managed a case. That would include
Yes.
Anthony Fauci, and
Right.
that would include pretty much all the bureaucrats in Washington. They are not physicians. They are people that got medical degrees and decided to go into the bureaucracy. So who commanded them, I don't know, but they were the ones that promulgated the protocol. And they were the ones that created the financial incentives, worked with the huge amounts of money that are ever available at the federal government level to incentivize certain practices. Now, the next step, so it could have been a small group, could have been 3 guys sitting around a table. Now, here's where the chain of command comes in. Those protocols and those financial incentives were then instantly promulgated to every hospital in the nation. And the thing that we have to know about hospitals in the United States is they are business operations. They are not medical operations. They are business operations first and foremost. They're run by their CFOs, their chief financial officers, and it's the hospital administrators, this is the key, not the physicians that run the hospitals. They are the ones that say what treatments are possible and who gets what treatment. That is a medical administrator decision. It is no longer a physician's decision in America. Unless you have your own practice, which is very rare now, you are working either for a hospital or for a large medical group. Those groups are run by accountants. They are not run by physicians. They are not run by people who care about public health.
Mm-hmm.
So once the medical administrator, he will tell the doctors, here's how you're going to treat these people. This is what we're going to support you doing. We're not going to support you in anything else. And if you talk about anything else, we will remove you. And that is exactly what happened. Now, very few doctors got removed because very few doctors bothered to say anything. Higher percentage, still small, but a higher percentage of nurses did say something. Why? Because the way medicine works, the doctor prescribes and then leaves the room. And it's up to the nurse to deal with the mess and the wreckage. So the nurses see the negative effects of these drugs, of these protocols, right? And they pushed back, and they were told, shut up or you're out of here. That's it. That's the whole pecking order. Federal government made the decision. They let the CFOs at the various hospital groups know, here's what you're going to get paid for. The medical administrators let the doctors know. The doctors went along with it.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think all the people you interviewed in your book, so Nicole and Aaron and who were the others? Bishovsky resigned himself. He gave notice and resigned, the respiratory therapist. But the other 2 nurses, they were both fired, of course.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're not only fired, but career blackballed. So if they were to go and attempt to work in another hospital, there would be a mark in their file given to them by another hospital. Do not hire this person's trouble.
That's right. Like Bishovsky. I mean, he's one of the top respiratory therapists in the United States, and he said he could not find work as a respiratory therapist. He would
imagine that there's and to really appreciate the perversity of that, there's a shortage of qualified, experienced respiratory therapists in this country. He has over 20 years of sterling record, and he can't get employed because he dared to say something about the vaccines.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You have in your book, you have a bunch of really good quotes. And I want to end this interview with a couple of quotes and a question for you. And the first one is from Alexander Solzhenitsyn. It's from his Gulag Archipelago. And he says, unlimited power in the hands of limited people always leads to cruelty. Very true, right?
Yeah, that's
It's
pretty
very
much
true.
a perfect summation of what we've been through and will continue to go through, unfortunately.
Yep. And we are all limited people, every single one of us. So nobody should have, certainly not unlimited power. Even a little bit of power turns decent people sometimes into not very decent people. Then there is another quote from Alexander Solzhenitsyn, also from the Gulag Archipelago. And he says, in keeping silent about evil and burying it so deep within us that no sign of it appears on the surface, we are implanting it and it will rise up 1,000-fold in the future. When we neither punish nor reproach evildoers, we are not simply protecting their trivial old age. We are thereby ripping the foundations of justice from beneath new generations.
Yeah, interestingly, I read those Solzhenitsyn books when I was a teenager, when they first came out, and they had a very deep effect on me. And I think he states the case as well as it can humanly be stated. And I
And
kind of look at my work as in this book as, you know, if you witness a crime, you witness somebody being abused, you're sort of obligated as a human being to try to interfere, or at a minimum report it to somebody who can intervene and help. So that's the function of this book. It exists. People do read it. It's slowly moving its way through the world. And I hope more and more people become aware of it, become aware of the story so that they can protect themselves. People need to know how dangerous hospitals and hospital systems are. They can do good things, but they have an absolute dark side. And if you're not aware of that dark side, you can be blindsided. And so that's another purpose for this book. And I believe on the website, we have a website called whatthenursessaw.com. We have some resources, in particular companies that will, private companies that will represent you while you're in the hospital to make sure that you're treated properly. I mean, this is what we've gotten to in this country. And I would recommend people to be aware of those services and the need for them. For example, if you had a legal problem, you probably wouldn't try to solve it on your own. You wouldn't show up in court and try to figure out what the court procedures are. You'd unfortunately have to hire an attorney. Well, I think it's that
that's
same way.
right.
I think it's that same way now. If you have a serious medical problem, you probably should be looking into hiring a medical advocate to watch your back, because
Yeah, you are so right. So next time you go to the hospital, bring your lawyer with you. So the
well,
lawyer
and
can say,
I'll tell you what.
yeah,
I mean, it's interesting, and it's good that you brought that up. It is better to have a medical advocate who knows the medical lawyers, at least in America, tend to be unqualified and highly aggressive. What you really need somebody who is very qualified in that arena and is also knows how to be a diplomat, because you may have all the legal arguments in the world, but the doctors have your body. So unfortunately, you've got to handle things diplomatically based on a lot of knowledge. So these companies, and they're on our website, they have experienced people, doctors, nurses, veterans who've been through this many times, and they know how to talk to doctors. They know how to talk to medical administrators, and they know how to do it in a way that doesn't create intense antagonism, because unfortunately, you're in the hospital, you're not well, you are dependent on these people. Now, when they know that you have an informed professional supervising your case, many things change very rapidly, especially when the medical administrators find out, because they know that they have legal liabilities. So anyway, you mentioned lawyers, not a lawyer, a medical advocate with specific experience in that kind of diplomacy.
that is great advice. And I didn't know that even existed, but yeah, that makes total sense. And I wonder if it's covered by healthcare. It should be.
Oh, it's not. It's definitely not. Not in this country. But yeah, but pay. It's very, if I was in a situation like that, I would absolutely hire an advocate to be supervising my case.
Yes. And I mean, there's a reason why the most important part of the oath of Hippocrates is do no harm, because doctors have the power to do harm unintentionally or intentionally. And to protect against that is not at all easy. So, to protect against having harm done to you while you are in a hospital or, helpless. And
or even, I mean, one of the things that often comes up when medical advocates are involved, they'll ask the doctor, well, doctor, why didn't you do these tests? And the doctor will go, oh, yeah, you're right. I forgot. This happens very often.
Yeah.
I mean, medical practice has some good things. You want to use the relevant good things. And doctors often just overlook stuff because they're in a hurry or they don't care because they're getting
Right.
paid.
And they're human beings. We forget stuff. And that actually is a good doctor that says, oh, yeah, you're right. I forgot. Because a lot of doctors would say, oh, shit, I forgot. And I'm really offended now. And this patient pointed this out. So I'm going to say, no, you don't need these tests because they're too proud to admit that they forgot.
But see, if you have an informed medical advocate, they can't play that game. They just have to say, we will run that test.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, true.
And the ideal, talking about nurses, maybe this would be a good place to end it. The ideal relationship between the nurse and the doctor is the doctor, by the nature of the way things are set up, the doctor spends very little time with the patients. So the nurse is the eyes and ears for the doctor and can report to the doctor in an informed way very specific information that the doctor just doesn't have access to because of the nature of the way things are set up.
Exactly.
So in an ideal scenario, the nurses would be respected. They'd be listened to. They'd be considered colleagues, equals, different but equal, and they would work together. And smart doctors, ethical doctors, operate that way. But the culture of medicine is very big on hierarchy, which, by the way, is something we imported from the Prussian medical system. That's all. That's going to be in my book. They're very big on hierarchy, and it is perfectly acceptable for a doctor to lord it over nurses and not listen to them. No doctor will ever lose his job for doing that. That needs to change as well.
Yeah. And one last quote, and that is from Carl Jung's book, Memories, Dreams, and Reflections. Whenever we give up, leave behind, and forget too much, there's always the danger that the things we have neglected will return with added force. And I want to ask you about that, Ken. Have we already forgotten too much? Or is it even worse, namely that we, as meaning enough people to say did we ever know?
Even people that lost loved ones don't know because they think it was just one-off, their misfortune. So unless you are one of these nurses or you've read the book or the COVID dossier, which I will look into, unless you've studied this matter, which is a very tiny, tiny percentage of the population, the public does not know what happened. So that's my concern, and that's why I appreciate you having me on here to talk about this, because the point I want to leave you with is the system is still in place. It has not been exposed. It has not been reformed, and it can be started up literally tomorrow. They can declare a new pandemic, a new protocol, and they can throw another millions of people into the jaws of this machinery. There's nothing preventing it.
Exactly. And, one of the two nurses that you interviewed, I forgot whether it was Nicole or Erin, she said that she did not see a single patient die of COVID-19 in the hospitals. Not a single one.
Yeah, they died of the treatments.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ken. Thank you very much for all your work, for your great books, and for giving me so much time for this interview.
Thanks for all the very interesting questions. I found this really stimulating.